Welcome back to yet another episode of Random Talk with NG. I am Ngozi Obiefuna, and today we're going to continue the conversation we began last week with my colleague and friend Danielle, where we're talking about soft skills that pay hard. We spoke about communication last week, and today we're continuing on empathy before we flow into influence. So I hear you perfectly, and I think it's something that is going to lead to our next question, which is how do you balance empathy with making, tough and sometimes unpopular decisions? Because when I relate it to team members, I see, there are some instances where you have to make really tough decisions as regards your teams, especially with regards to performance and then, some other issues that may arise at work. So how do you balance empathy as a soft skill with making those tough and unpopular decisions, as the case may be?
Okay, so I would like us to treat the root and not the tip of the leaf at this junction. Most of the time is that you want to make tough decisions at the end of a project without notifying or at least communicating to the team what may have led to those decisions. So let me give a practical example. You are supposed to get a deliverable. You give somebody a task to do. You didn't tell the person when you need it. You didn't give the person, see, this task, we need it to be done in next 2 hours. Is it possible? You didn't seek for the person's opinion. You didn't let the person realize that this task could lead to, a written issue. You kept it in your mind, and expect that the person should know. So what I mean is you've not communicated properly what you expect from the person, and then the person doesn't deliver as at when you want the person to deliver, and then you want to use that as a basis, to judge the person, that the person has not, met his or her obligation, or is not doing what he or she is supposed to do, or the popular saying, the person is supposed to know what to do now. Am I supposed to tell her everything? So those are where it becomes tough, where you have been able to communicate at the beginning to say, see, this is the task, this is the goal, this is what I expect from you all to do. By the time you'll be making what is called tough decision, it will no longer be tough, because then you would have basis and reasons to say this is where, or this is what had happened, this is what we agreed, and this is what you did. Did you do anything different? The person will be able to tell you, I didn't do anything different, and the person won't be surprised. I have somebody that told me categorically that, I know that there is nothing that will happen. I will be rated a 4. So you can imagine when somebody mentions that kind of statement, what it means is that the person has actually been told early enough what the rating drivers would be. The person has been communicated effectively to say these are the things that would drive your rating, and so by the time you now come up to say I want to give you or I want to rate you, the person is aware, because there's no other evidence that speaks in favor of the person. So I think it becomes a tough decision when you have not properly communicated at the beginning. But let's even assume that for one reason or the other, these things were not communicated properly. I think you need to be objective and remove emotion from it. Yes, you have to be empathetic, but please, you need to be objective. And like I had mentioned, it's not a skill that you have it's something you practice. And being objective is in the sense that you should be able to, look dead on the issue, focus on the issue at hand and not the person, and let the person realize that, see, we're talking about your performance, and the question is, are you really there? Give the person an opportunity to also, defend he or she's opinion about what should be their rating or something like that. And then both of you in most cases would always come to the same decision. But I'm of the view that those decisions that we call tough decisions when it comes to being empathetic are really tough because we do not communicate them early enough to these team members, and they use it against us because in their head, you didn't tell me, I'm not aware, you never mentioned it, so why are you using it as a written driver? I remember having a conversation with one of my team members, and I asked him, I said, did we meet the client's deadline? He said no. Are you aware that we had a deadline? He said yes. Were you communicated to? He said yes. And then I said, so is there any reason why you shouldn't be rated the rating you are being given now? He said, bro, it's not my fault. I said, good. So the question is, when it wasn't your fault, who did you tell? Who did you communicate to? Who did you escalate the problem to? So after we concluded the conversation, it was glaring in the person's mind that, see, I myself have goofed. I should have, when I noticed it wasn't going to be possible to meet this deadline, I should have, escalated. And this was possible because at the beginning of the engagement, these objectives, these goals were actually spelled out and communicated to them. So they were not surprised, when they had such ratings. So in my own view, I think what I would advise team leaders and supervisors or managers to do is to communicate early, and if possible, document those communication, so that by the time you are going to be making a tough decisions on the person's performance, the person will not come from a view of I wasn't aware. The person will be coming from a view of I was aware, but I either did it like this or I didn't do it like this, and then I think you wouldn't have to make, in quotes, tough decisions again.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. And now I know that what you said is actually very true and it is essential. So empathy makes people feel seen, and that's true, but influence moves people to action. So I want us to explore influence now. What do you think is the difference between influence and manipulation? Because sometimes you say something, some people feel like you're being, manipulative. Meanwhile, you're trying to be influential towards that particular cause. So what do you think is the difference?
Well, I would also want to point out here the power of misconception, right? Again, we need to realize something, that the other person that may 100% understand what you are saying or what you are trying to do or the objective behind your motive is you yourself. Most times other people could also misconcept, and so while it is possible that people think that you may be manipulating, in your own mind you only wanted to be influential, but there must have been something that the person must have seen that could raise an eyebrow for the person to think that you were being manipulative and not being influential. And those are the things that you need to be very, very careful about. When you are being manipulative, in most cases you are being you're looking out for yourself and not for both of you. You're looking at how it affects you and not how it affects both the person and yourself. So let me try and see if I can give a practical example. You want a tax done, but you go about it making it obvious to the team that, see, if this is not done, it affects my rating. When I mean mine, now you that is giving the tax to be done, and then you focus all the issue to be about you, how it benefits you, how you gain from it, and not how the team gains from it. Rather than having a conversation on to say, oh, see, this is a collective effort. If we don't get it done, it affects all of us. It affects yourself. It makes you don't get, you won't be able to be seen as someone that is being, proactive in the firm. Pointing out to the person what could, help the person, to get what he or she needs to get done. But you are just being focused on, it's going to affect my own rating. I'm supposed to make a senior manager next year, and you will not be the reason why I will not be senior manager. You need to, you are just being concerned about yourself. And when you are being manipulative, the power of empathy is no longer there, because you're no longer putting the person, on in you're not putting yourself in the person's shoes. So yes, there are cases whereby you could be manipulative and think you are influential, but once the ability or the power of empathy is removed from those actions, it clearly would mean that you are being manipulative.
Well, I totally agree with you. Now, who has influenced you the most, and what can you say made their influence powerful?
Well, a lot of people have. At one point in time, we've had people influence us. It could be growing up, in choosing a career, in fact, in choosing the kind of spouse you go out with, in choosing the kind of social gatherings you go for. A lot of people have. I remember when I was still in primary school before I went into the university. Before I went into secondary school, we used to have this neighbor of blessed memory, who was a banker, and I was greatly influenced by his dressing. Bankers of those years putting on trousers and shirts with his tie and with his suits, and just because of how lovely he dressed, I chose that I would be a banker. And that decision shaped me to the extent that I went to commercial class, studied accounting. Though I didn't become a banker, but I did something close to being a banker. I've also had people influence me spiritually as well. When you look at how some people behave, you tend to ask yourself, why is it that this person is not like others? Why is it that people listen to him or her when he or she is speaking? This way the people help me, wanting to be like them, even in the career paths. I don't know if mentioning names would be good. I have this current boss who is who can be very petty, but is also very, very influential in career. And what was that? What makes him an influential person is because of how he approaches issues. He approaches issue from a solution-driven point of view rather than from a fault-finding point of view. The mistake has been made, and then his question is, what do we do next? What can we do next? Helps you to get to the point whereby you even prefer solution to the issue. And even when you may not have given the best solution, it will definitely come in to help. So there are a lot. I can't say who has influenced me most. I would say that it depends on whichever aspect we want to consider of my life. You want to talk about my educational pursuits, there are people that have influenced me in those areas. If you want to talk about my spirituality, there are people that have. If you talk about my social life, there are people that have. If you talk about my emotional life, there are also people that have. So, but I wouldn't say that one person has influenced most. But one of the things that makes all of these people's influence to be powerful is first of all is their intent. The intent is to inspire, to guide, to persuade others. Not seeking for personal gain. The other thing is transparency. They are open, they are honest. They also leave myself, empowered, respected, and often willing to follow again in the future. So those three areas are one of the things that makes their influence powerful, which should be the things that we also should be concerned about when we want to make influence on our team members. We should ensure that our intents are pure and positive. We should ensure that we are open and honest, and we should ensure that we leave these people empowered so that they can take over from wherever we might have stopped.
Yep. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. And right now we have explored these skills separately. So by next week, when we're wrapping up this conversation on the soft skills that pay had, which are communication, empathy, and influence, we will try to weave them all together and see how they all intertwine to make us exceptional beings. Till I come your way next time, don't forget, you can always reach out to me on Instagram and TikTok at Random Talk with NG. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, and have an amazing week ahead and a great December.